No, I've never seen a black man with a comb over before. Oh, hi everyone, it's the Last Angry Geek here, and we're going to take a few minutes to talk about The Amazing Spider-Man 2, which I just saw. Now, if you saw my previous vlog on the first Amazing Spider-Man, you know I really liked the movie a lot more than I liked the Sam Raimi trilogy, and I'm happy to say I liked the sequel. I don't think it was a vast improvement or a colossal failure compared to the previous one. It was about the same in quality. Let's talk about the characters. The first one, obviously, that comes to mind is Electro. Is there some rule that if you were on In Living Color and your name starts with the letter J, at some point you have to play a wormy, why won't you love me supervillain in a movie? Because Jamie Foxx was just playing Jim Carrey's character in Batman Forever. He was essentially the Riddler in that movie. He's like, in that movie, it's like, why won't you love me, Bruce Wayne? In this movie, Spider-Man, love me! You know, it was the same character. The only thing I will say about that character is at least that neediness, that desire to be approved, paid off when Harry Osborn rescued him from prison and he's being taken away and said, I know what it's like to be discarded. That forged a bond and explained why Electro helped Harry and why Harry in turn was able to manipulate Electro the way he did. So at least the kind of wormy neediness paid off for that character as opposed to just kind of being written off as him trying to replace Bruce Wayne. Oops, I mean Spider-Man. At least they didn't go that route. At least they didn't go the entire Jim Carrey route with the character, but it was something we've seen before. Also with Electro, the whispers were back. When he first got his powers and Spider-Man's there and he was hearing that whispering, that chanting in his head, just like with the Lizard in the first movie. I mean, there was never anyone directly talking to him, but he was hearing voices. Now, I don't know if that was part of the soundtrack or that was a callback to the Lizard in Spider-Man 1, but it would be interesting if in the third one we get a payoff for that. We find that mysterious figure who was serving Harry, who's also the same guy who visited the Lizard in his cell. The first one was somehow telepathically influencing villains on behalf of the Osborns. Now, I'm not saying the whispers were intentional, but if they were, I'm hoping we get payoff on that in the finale of this trilogy. I'm assuming it's going to be a trilogy. I've heard a few people upset that Spider-Man killed Electro, but I must quote physics on this. Energy can be neither created nor destroyed. He overloaded Electro, but I think it would be real easy to bring him back for a sequel. Just set up some electrical equipment in that spot and reconstitute him. I mean, I don't think he's dead. I don't think he's dead. You know, it's not like a Tim Burton Batman movie. I'm referencing Batman a lot. Why is that? Harry Osborn, Dane DeHaan was very good in this role. I wish we'd seen more of him with Norman Osborn. I wish we'd gotten more into that relationship. There was just some obvious resentment there. Oh, you sent me away. I kind of felt like his whole character arc was rushed. The scene with Garfield felt very real. They felt very much like old friends reconnecting. They were hanging out, they were laughing. There was an awkward phase, and they got back in rhythm, and it was all working out. And then all of a sudden, no, you betrayed me. And like, oh, I'm going on a killing spree. They took James Franco's entire arc from the Sam Raimi trilogy and stuffed it into one movie, and I don't think that worked. The friendship with Peter Parker felt real. I think that worked, but they just rushed through everything with this character. That was kind of my complaint about the Flash Thompson character in the first one. It's just like, jerk, redeemed, nice guy. Here it was nice guy, betrayed, monster, supervillain. It just felt like they rushed too much. Like I said, I felt the actor did a good job. The friendship felt real, but I felt like his story arc was too fast-forwarded because you needed to have a Green Goblin to have that ending. We'll get to that. One of my complaints about the last one, I felt Sally Field was underused. Here, I thought she did a great job. I thought they did a nice amount of work with her. I love that she's keeping secrets from Peter at the same point that he's keeping secrets from her. She's under all this pressure now without her husband to kind of take care of her adopted son. I mean, I just thought she finally got something to do in this movie, whereas the last one she was just kind of playing peacekeeper all the time. So Sally Field did a really good job in this one for the few scenes she had. She was still a minor character, but I think they did more with Aunt May in this one than they did the last one, and I appreciated that. The Rhino, I felt, was okay. I don't remember the gangster's name, but Paul Giamatti, it was essentially a cameo, and frankly, it was a little beneath him to get an actor that good for that small a part. I'm hoping it pays off in the next movie. They bring the Rhino back as part of the Sinister Six, because otherwise, this really was not worth Paul Giamatti's time. He plays the dim-witted gangster in the beginning, and then he's in the Rhino suit at the end, and the Rhino suit's all mechanical. It's a mech thing. And again, that's from the Ultimate Universe. It seems whenever they need an idea for a Marvel Comics movie, they go to the Ultimate Universe. I'm not sure why, but you know, it's not just like a rubber Rhino suit. He's in a mechanical, he's in a Rhino mech, essentially. But it was okay. But honestly, Paul Giamatti does not do a good Russian accent. I didn't really buy him in the role, and I felt the Rhino was miscast and underused, so there's that. Gwen Stacy, once again, Emma Stone, amazing job. I did question why she and Peter had gotten back together in between movies only to break up at the beginning of this movie. Do we need to be reminded that they were broken up? Couldn't we just had a word or two? It's like, oh, you and Gwen are still fighting, huh? Yeah, but hopefully we'll get back together. It seemed you put them together and then you break them up, but they were already broken up at the end. I think the arc could have been we started out with them broken up and then they get back together. It seemed unnecessary to reunite them just to break them up at the beginning. But again, the best thing about this movie is the chemistry between Emma Stone and Andrew Garfield. I mean, they make an amazing couple. Every time together, they're just laughing, and telling jokes to each other. And just the chemistry there is really what draws you in. The Gwen-Peter relationship is the best thing about these movies, and it's a reason to get a ticket. I mean, honestly, I'm no fan of the romantic comedy, but I would watch a romantic comedy with these two in it. They've just got such amazing chemistry. The way they light up and flirt with each other. And I know they're a real-life couple, too, or at least I think they are. But the movie just captures this wonderful relationship, and it just, every time they're on screen together, I can't take my eyes off them. It's just... It feels weird to be talking about this for a superhero movie, but yes, the boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, that's just what works about Amazing Spider-Man. One of the big elements that got lost from the previous movie was the whole father relationship Peter had with his dad, and I think originally in the movie they were meant to be missing, but then they just added like a little scene where he reads an article about their plane crashing. This movie goes back and fixes that. It really explores the Richard-Peter relationship and what his dad meant to him, what his loss meant to him, and how it's really affected him. And he goes back and explores that. He explores the nature of his work at Oscorp, the nature of why the spider bite changed Peter so positively. So I'm really glad they went back and explored that element of the mythology. That was something that was touched upon. You felt it was important in the last film, but it didn't really get explored. So they explored it this time, and I'm glad for that. Andrew Garfield, again, does a great job as Peter. I said all I can say about the chemistry he had with Emma Stone. I've said all I can say about the chemistry he had with Harry Osborn. But the man is just funny in the role. And that's what I love about these movies. The Sam Raimi movies. I know I've talked this to death in the last vlog. I'll keep talking it to death whenever anyone asks me about it. But the Sam Raimi movies, Spider-Man was not funny. And he's meant to be funny. And here he's funny. And it's such a relief to have a funny Spider-Man. But he's really great acting with the mask on or off. You feel it's still just... You still feel Peter coming out of there. And at the end, when what happens, he really sells the darker moments in this. He sells the heartbreak over his father when he's talking to Aunt May. He sells his own personal heartbreak after Gwen dies. If you didn't know you were going to get spoilers in this, shame on you. Gwen dies. I love that the web reaching for Gwen turns into kind of like a hand. I love that symbolism. I was expecting the snap. I was expecting her to be grabbed and, snap. You hear it like in the comic, but what happened was a little more brutal, and I was not expecting that. The web grabs her just in time, but it stretches just enough so she, hits the floor hard, and it's like, oh, God. That was surprisingly brutal, but, effective. I wasn't expecting it. I was expecting the infamous broken neck. That was a lot harsher. And the fact that right there before that, Gwen is constantly saying, I'm going to be a part of your life. I'm proactive in this. That's why Gwen Stacy has been such a great character in this movie. She's proactive. She's fighting the crime. She's fighting the monsters with Peter. She, right before that, says, I'm here. I'm choosing to be here. And that results in her dying. I mean, that might, not cripple Peter with guilt like it did in the comics, but damn, that's hard to see. There were a couple of name cameos that I liked. I mean, you had a Felicia, and that I doubt it's Felicia Hardy the Black Cat. I don't see that character coming back in black leather and robbing people. And B.J. Novak from The Office played a character named Smythe, and I don't see that character inventing Spider Slayer robots, but the cameos were nice. I liked how they handled J. Jonah Jameson. Yes, he's selling pictures. That all happened off screen, and maybe that's for the best, because if there's one character you cannot replace from the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, it's J. Jonah Jameson. J.K. Simmons completely owned that role in those movies. No one was ever going to look more like J. Jonah Jameson. No one was ever going to sound more like J. Jonah Jameson. He even played J. Jonah Jameson, not really, on The Simpsons. I mean, that's just probably the one actor it would be impossible to recast because everyone has him in their minds as J. Jonah Jameson. So it's probably best that they just handle that character via email. Oh yeah, I got to jump some pictures. Oh, I think he's innocent. Wrong. That's probably the best way to handle him. Just keep him off screen because you can't replace J.K. Simmons. He was just too iconic in that role. I will say at some point the CGI got old. I was very aware that I was watching a CGI Spider-Man whenever he would start doing those twists and, and even some of the fight scenes with Electro and the Green Goblin, although he was never called the Green Goblin, it was very obvious that the characters were CGI. They just twist or moved a little too fluidly that made you think, that's not a human being, cannot move that way, no matter how genetically enhanced by Spider they are. I would have liked to have seen a little more practical filming on the Spider-Man stunt scenes and fight scenes. There was just enough CGI that it bothered me a little bit. Not a deal breaker, but there were just some scenes where I was very aware that I was watching a computer animated character. Overall, I liked Amazing Spider-Man 2. I still think Captain America: The Winter Soldier is the superhero film to beat this summer. The next one up is going to be X-Men: Days of Future Past. I want to believe that that's going to be a great movie, but each trailer kind of erodes my confidence a little bit. That first teaser maybe set the bar a little too high because that was an awesome teaser. But that's going to be the next vlog. That'll be at the end of the month. Until the next time, folks, go see Amazing Spider-Man 2. You'll enjoy it. The chemistry between Emma Stone and Andrew Garfield's great, and it's a fun little romp. Even if the villains were either not well written or underwritten or a little too rushed, you'll still have a good time. Until next time, this is Comic Book Issues, and I'm your host, the Last Angry Geek.